What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
And I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you. So, it's Valentine's Day, or at least it is by the time you see this, and we figured we'd throw out something very warm-hearted and kind and loving.
Yeah, this record, all the way.
With Necrowretch's new album, The Ones from Hell. This came out on Valentine's Day, February the 14th, on Seasonist Underground Activists imprint. This is the band's fourth full length. They're from France, and they formed in 2008. Really don't know much about this band. I know that their drummer played an incantation, at least live, and he's a former member of Bloody Sign, which is a band that I'm familiar with, at least, that did black and death metal from forever ago. I think it was like early 2000s. But that's about all I really know about them. But I heard a couple tracks, and I definitely want to review them.
For sure.
So we're going to kick this thing off.
So the record starts out with a track called Pure Hellfire. Right from the gate, it has this really cool acoustic beginning, very airy, very ambient, with some hand drums, I think, that came in eventually.
I really like the light percussion and the fact that they did like some acoustic harmonies in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really awesome lead-in. It builds a lot of atmosphere.
Yep. And then it comes in with this really cool kind of Sabbath-y riff almost.
Before it just flat out explodes.
Yeah, and when we say explodes, like it starts with the vocalist, whom I'm definitely going to get into here. He just screams. It's abrupt. It comes out of nowhere, and then it heads into this crazy blast beat.
Insane, like walls of dissonant riffing. It really reminded me a lot of what we're listening to right now, which is Obliteration. Except, I think Obliteration dials it back a little bit compared to these guys. When these guys go full bore, it's insane.
Yep.
And this song is all over the place. It's black and death metal, but I think it favors black metal a little bit more than the death metal side.
I compared it to Burzum, and well, you said the mix wasn't as bad. In the beginning of this album, the guitars are not real present in the mix. It's very noisy.
I mean, either that or the drums and vocals are so far up in the mix. Because, I mean, the drums, like, the snare sounds super loud in particular, but...
And huge, for that matter.
And the vocals have just tons of reverb on them. They are drenched in reverb, but that adds to the effect that this vocalist has, which is just being tortured. These are tortured, anguished vocals, and they really work with the atmosphere.
The lyrics, by the way, are ridiculous. From what I caught, when I started paying attention to them, they're just utterly ridiculous. I'm guessing there's almost like a theatric thing to this guy.
The next track, Luciferian Sovereignty, this one kind of came in like Blackened Incantation. And I could see why, John McEntee would probably want to get this guy as his drummer, because he's pretty used to that style of drumming. But this one is just, again, an explosive song. There's no build-up and there's no pretense. It has some moments where it really kind of dials on some like groovy hooks. It almost kind of reminded me of Mortal. But most of the song is like Incantation meets Archgoat. Like, in terms of that really raw black and death metal sound.
I mean, a lot of it to me was just noise.
It really didn't flow very well.
No.
I mean, there were some cool melodies, but an issue with these first two tracks was they jumped around.
Well, that and they're so far back in the mix that if you're not trying to look for it, you're probably not going to find it.
Now, the album took a turn for the better, in my opinion, on the title track, The Ones from Hell. This one has an absolutely killer opening melody. When we heard the first few notes, I thought they were about to do a cover of South of Heaven. It was right there. I was like, oh no, they changed it right the next second. And it almost kind of works as like a Slayer-ish waltz in this beginning. I really, really dug this. The song builds very well. It builds tension. It builds atmosphere. And has a solid groovy hook to it. Now, it has this nice little fade out before it goes completely apeshit in the second part with just wall-to-wall blast beats. And as much as I dig this is kind of where the song ends. Now, I expected this to be like a longer track where this would be a cool bridge part, and then they'd bring back that opening section, which was so memorable. Just really good. But they didn't.
They didn't return to it.
Yeah, it was a missed opportunity.
Next in line was Absolute Evil, which, in my opinion, is where the album started to get really good. We'll cover more of that as we go here. I thought it had kind of like an early Intronaut, early Mastodon sound to it. Very, like, doomy, but had like these stoner riffs. There was a little bit of groove here that presented itself for the first time, really.
It's a very short track. It's almost like kind of a setup for the next track. But I really liked what they did here. It almost kind of like changed the pace of the album a bit. What they were doing a little bit in the Ones from Hell, this is where they kind of carried on. It's almost an instrumental. There's like one scream, and I think it's just the title of the song at the end. I think as far as their black metal influences, they scream more classic ones like early Mayhem, maybe Burzum, stuff like that. And I think they employ that really well and kind of mix it in with a lot of thrash metal and... Well, the death metal parts come up a little bit later, I think.
Next in line was Codex Obscuritas. This, for me, is where the record really, really, really took a positive spin into... it doesn't even sound like the same band, to be honest.
More dynamic songwriting. That opening riff is so doom-laden, like it just kind of echoes Candlemass and stuff like that.
But it's a really cool groove. And the guitars, again, are much more present in the mix. There's definitely melody you can hear, and well-defined, too. Just an
excellent song. Like, this is loaded with dynamics, which really weren't present earlier on. It made the song a lot more memorable. Like, there were more standout moments on this one, and this is a trend that continues.
And there was a lead, and it was a really, actually, pretty solid lead. It actually reminded me of really early Morbid Angel again, just not as crazy as Trey would have pinpointed it.
This was, honestly, like... It was a breath of fresh air because I really wasn't sure where this album was going, and it's paced very oddly, and that's something that really comes into play because as we kept listening to this album, honestly, it got even better.
Yeah.
And we thought maybe if they had taken those opening two tracks and maybe spliced them a little bit differently.
Yeah, just positioned all this differently in the album to not make, the first three songs kind of a dead zone almost. In this song too, like, it was the first time even the vocals deviated from the norm. It didn't last long. I'm not real sure what he was doing. Again, the vocalist is a character. Thank you, sir.
Insane performance. Like, I have no doubts this guy is super into the music he does, and Jesus Christ, what a fucking performance.
Like, in the middle, I wrote here, Gargamel kills the Smurfs at long last. What was it you said? Sounds like they just pushed him down a well.
Yep, that's it. But it works with the music. He really does a lot to build the atmosphere on here, which this album does sound evil. So mission accomplished.
Incredibly evil.
Darkness Supreme was, honestly, I think the one that sounded the most death metal influenced. This one actually sounded more riff-oriented. There is a 100% Trey Asagoth kind of solo on here. Squealy, dissonant, but kind of melodic, his token style. Chuggy triplets, honestly, it's one of the few times where that really kind of comes in.
The groove in this song, I just have to say, groove, really, really appears in this song more so than in other places.
I like the little cymbal grabs and everything before leading into that blast beat section. Like, it has a lot of those, like, classic sort of death metal tropes, like the early death metal stuff.
It even had what you might consider like a breakdown almost. And the fade out on this song was really fucking cool.
I love the fade out. It fades out on quite possibly one of the strongest riffs on the entire album. Like, it really just builds this monstrous thing, and you slowly hear the music at the fade out, but the vocals stay up in the mix and get more and more distorted and more over the top. And honestly, like, sometimes this sort of stuff annoys me, but the fact that you can really feel how much he's putting into this, I really just ended up liking it. I was like, dude, this is just cool.
Another favorite for me was Through the Black Abyss. Started out with this really, really cool... Again, they brought back an acoustic intro, but this time it reminded me of Spanish guitars, a little Middle Eastern.
A little Middle Eastern, too. That's what I got.
Very well done on the mood. As far as the ambience and the dissonance is concerned in this song, first of all, it's all instrumental.
Yep.
And just, they really, really set the mood really well in this song.
I like how the acoustic guitars stop as the drums come in, and the drums are isolated, and then boom, into this gorgeous dissonant riffing.
It's got like a really early Mastodon feel. It just reminds me of something off of Remission, to be honest.
I can hear that.
And Blood Incantation as well. That was a big one that stood out for me. It sounds like the instrumental track on Blood Incantation. The whole feel of this album just changes immaculately.
It really shifted, and it's just interesting when you hear the first two tracks versus the rest of the album. There is quite a change. Maybe even the recording too, because I felt like the guitars were more up in the mix.
Yeah, it felt like maybe somebody mixed the back half of the record that
and
deviated from the first.
And it made it sound more full.
Yeah,
like the bass tone is very prevalent in the rest of this album too. You know, it's a stark contrast. So it closes with the eponymous Necrowretch, which is kind of a return to some of the stuff that they were doing earlier on the album, but I think they did it better here. This is very similar to the second track, but this one took the cake as far as the vocal performance.
Oh my God.
This one, I swear to God, we felt like we were watching like Faces of Death, except someone was playing music over it.
So when it starts, it comes in with a blast, and then it's like a moaning over it.
A yowl.
A yowl, maybe? Yeah. So he yowls over it, and then it straight sounds like somebody being tortured.
Like they were pulling out his fingernails
in the studio.
Like that.
Somebody smashed his balls with a hammer or something. Like, it sounds...
he sounds like he's in agony, which, again, great job for trying to build that atmosphere. Now, I love how this is a more straightforward, just nasty, fast closer. But it takes this break to count down 666, and the first thing I thought of was 66 Slayer.
Yep.
Because it goes into like pretty much a full-on like Hell Awaits era Slayer thrashy section, and this awesome throwback crazy ending, like the end of Raining Blood, just really all that shit. It's just nuts. But honestly, I thought there was another track, and I was really waiting for another track, but I'm kind of glad it kind of ended like that because that's just nuts.
Yeah,
it ended crazy as hell.
If you're gonna end a crazy album such as this, that was the way to do it.
So overall, this was a really interesting listen. I didn't like the fact that I wasn't engaged early on, but as I kept listening, the tracks got better and I was really drawn in. So overall, I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. I think this is a really good album. First two tracks definitely sound a little less put together, but there's still spots in there I really liked, but the rest of the album just was killer. There's a lot of great guitar parts in here, and if you love atmosphere and fucking mood, you're gonna get it on this album. Good listen.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. My logic is the overall mix until it gets to the midpoint of the record is odd. Odd in the sense that there was even a time where I was reminded of the band Portal, and if you've ever listened to Portal, well, you'll know.
Portal will fuck you up.
Yeah, but the fact that the overall direction of the record was such a hit and miss in the beginning, like I wasn't sure what was going to happen or where it was going to go, but then it got really good. Like I would jam the back half of this album again.
Yeah.
But overall, it's 3 stars. Mine's mostly for the mix of it all. Like it took me a minute to get there, and although they improved it, I thought there was a lot that got left out that could have been in there too. There was a lot of mood that they could have put in, beyond the fact that it was horrorish and sounded like somebody being tortured. There still could have been an additional feel for this album that I think would have enhanced that evil sound they had. So.
I'm still reasonably sure they are the ones from Hell, though. That definitely sounds.
I mean, they're if they're not from there, they're near there and have taken several courses on how to be hell-ish.
Bare minimum, they summer in hell. So, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because if you subscribe, you are entered in our giveaway for a Cryptopsy Hoodie. Once we hit 1,000 subs, we are going to do a sub randomizer, and one of you lucky guys or girls are going to get a 2X Cryptopsy Hoodie. We're almost at 800 subs, and we are super thankful to all of you guys.
Yes. From the bottom of our hearts, trust me.
We love doing this, and I'm glad you guys love us doing this too, because that makes it worthwhile. So we will catch you later, and we will be back with more shit to review. Promise.
Take care, guys.